Hi, good morning, friends. It's me again, Lorenzo Generation Network. Hope you enjoyed our last video. Hope you are enjoying our contents. Hope you're enjoying what we are sharing. Please help us drop on the comment section how you want us to get better, the areas you may want us to visit and touch to help you understand better. Today we'll be talking about another aspect of flight dispatch which we've not spoken about. I know we've talked about operational control, we've talked about a little bit about flight watch, we talked about documentation, we also talked about communication. Today we are going to talk about load control. Most times, flight dispatch is not, or flight dispatching is not just about planning a flight from point A to point B. There are several other things you need to take into consideration. You need to consider the load you're expecting per day. What's the quantity of the load you're expecting per day? What is the airfield elevation of that particular airport? For instance, taking Johannesburg airport as a case study, the airport elevation or the airfield elevation is above 5,000, maybe about 5,500 feet. With this, the performance of the aircraft will drastically drop. So there is need for you to do performance calculation to determine your regulated takeoff weight. Now, when you determine your regulated takeoff weight, that your regulated takeoff weight becomes your maximum takeoff weight on that day. That's if there are no other limitations on the MEL. Because that's the one other thing I'm going to talk about, especially to dispatchers, flight operation officers. There are several other things you need to always consider when you are dispatching your flight. There could be some limitation based on the MEL. MEL is minimum equipment list. They are items that are permitted to be inoperative prior to flight. So some of those items is just telling you that there are certain things that are not working prior to your flight. Yes, you can fly this aircraft with these conditions. That's just a layman's understanding what this means. So if there are no MEL restrictions or limitations, there is, whether there is or not, there is need for you to do your performance calculation. Because if you are operating from an airport that is a sea level airport, for instance Lagos, and you're operating from an airport that is not at the sea level, you need to do performance calculation, because the performance of that aircraft in Lagos, Nigeria is not the same thing with the performance of that aircraft in Johannesburg, which the airfield elevation is about 5,500 feet. So you need to do all those calculations for you to determine the maximum weight you can take per day. You need to do your underload calculation. You need to do your calculation to determine your allowable takeoff weight or allowable payload per day. By doing all this calculation, it will help you determine your fuel. And like I spoke before, the performance dispatch, when you are working with jumbo jets, you don't just plan a flight to take off, for instance Lagos to Dubai, to just take off at its maximum operating ceiling. There is need for what is called step climb. If an aircraft is doing Lagos Dubai, when the aircraft takes off from Lagos and it flies all the way to Kelak on Jamina, the aircraft should have flown for about 1 hour. At that time, on a 777, maybe 300 or 200 series that burns averagely 7,500 per hour on both engines, might have burned out about 7,500. Getting to maybe N'Djamena or Khartoum, already burnt about 2 hours 30 minutes, 2 hours 20 minutes, depending on the wind or fuel, which is approximately 15 tons. With this, the aircraft is lighter to climb to another level. Don't forget that when he was leaving the base, let's say they had a full passenger and a 40 tons of cargo, it will be difficult for them to attain their maximum operating optimal level. I mean, their maximum optimal level. So this maximum optimal level per day or per flight is ultimately determined by the weight of the aircraft per time. So if they take off and they fly for about 2 hours, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on the wind. They are burnt out about 15 tons of fuel, taking 777 generic fuel burn off as a case study. The aircraft will now be lighter to climb to a higher flight level. So for a dispatcher, you need to plan this step climb using your performance dispatch chart. Using your performance dispatch chart, you'll be able to plan this aircraft that at this particular time, the aircraft will burn out some fuel, which will reduce the takeoff weight at that time, or how heavy the aircraft is, to climb to a higher optimal level, which will help the aircraft burn less fuel. With that performance dispatch, it will tell you the best flight level the aircraft can fly considering the weight per time. That is performance dispatch. If you don't take all these performance calculation into consideration, you may end up burning more fuel. You may end up wasting more money. So it is good for a flight operation officer as well as dispatchers to check all these things, consider them properly before dispatching your flight. Now, going back to load control, it also goes through screening. After screening, weighing, you need to know the weight of what you are carrying, and then finally it will go through palleting. The essence of palleting is to make sure your weight or your load are tied down to avoid flutter in flight, to avoid the load moving up and down in flight, which may affect the movement of the CG. Don't forget, as the aircraft takes off and is burning fuel, the CG is constantly changing, but it's still within the safety envelope. Now, but when your load is not properly tied down with the tie down devices, which is what is used on the pallet, of course, I'm going to share the pictures whenever I have the opportunity. This load is going to be very, very dangerous. That have caused a lot of crash in aviation history, where as soon as the aircraft takes off and is in the climb phase, the load will just move back and pull the aircraft down and possibly increase the angle of attack, and the aircraft will just fall, and that could cost a lot of life, properties and money. So it's always good for you to take out time and do proper planning and do proper projection. Make sure that your aircraft have proper tie down devices. And for those loading pallets on the jumbo jets, make sure they are locked properly. For pallets, you load and you lock, you load and you lock. Then for AKEs, maybe containers, you load, and then you lock. For those mixing pallets and AKE, it can be done. So, but you should understand that this load is not just about putting them inside the hold. They need to be properly secured to avoid accident, to avoid flutter in flight, which will, if care is not taken, could cost life and properties. So in our next video, we'll be showing you, or we'll be talking more about how to do tie down devices calculation, or how it affects the weight of the pallet, because most of the time people don't know that these things, they pass through several phases, several stages. Thank you very much, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to tell us the areas you want us to visit. Thank you very much, and I want to encourage all the upcoming dispatchers, don't give up. Call us anytime. We'll be happy to guide you in your great areas, the areas you're having challenges. Thank you so much, and do have a wonderful day. Subscribe to Lorenzo Generations. Thank you.